Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday's webinar from Anicca Digital. It looks like we're no longer going to be in lockdown in Leicester, or it's going to be a sort of milder version of lockdown. And that's very good because the weather is beautiful today. So hopefully we've got lots of interesting stuff to talk to you. Hello, George. Lots of people joining. Hello, Lee. Please do write a message in the chat. You'll also notice on the right-hand side that there's a Q&A section. We're going to do a couple of polls while we wait for a few more people to arrive. And if you look top right, you'll see there's also handouts if you want to go and help yourself to the slides, and then you can download them. We had a request the other week, and we thought we'd do that for all of the webinars going forward. Okay, so I'm going to start off by asking for a couple of polls. Now, the people that are familiar will understand that I have to read this out while you guys are entering the details. And the reason is that when we come to the recording, we can't actually see the poll in the recording. So my first question is, what sales and marketing technologies do you currently use? And I think you can answer, you may be able to answer more than one, but I think most of you will just answer one in this poll. So none, I'm just learning about their benefits. Email, I use 3 email software such as MailChimp. The next one is email. We have a paid email marketing packages. For contacts and CRM, we use Excel or similar and do not use CRM. Contacts and CRM, we use a freemium. That's basically a free with, you get free licenses for a couple of people and then you have to pay. So we use that with minimal costs. We have heavily invested in CRM. We're using something like Salesforce. Both we use an email and CRM, but not marketing automation. Both we use email and CRM and all marketing automation. So it's a pretty even split at the moment. A lot of you are using free email packages such as MailChimp, which is not surprising. It's incredibly cheap, particularly if your database is less than 4,000. Once you get to 4,000, then you do start having to pay. The next most popular one is we're using both email and CRM, but not marketing automation. Some people are using email. A few of you are using a little bit of marketing automation. Maybe you're not sure what package you're using and you want a little bit more, learn a bit more. But there's very few of you today are just learning. So that's good. We've got a few people here that are obviously understand the benefits, so I can focus on what they actually do. So my next poll, so thank you for answering that one. So my next poll is, how much do you invest in sales and marketing software? So none, we do not use this technology at the moment. None, we only use free services like MailChimp, less than £500 a month. We have a lower cost software and only 1 to 2 users. What you find is that most packages, the cost increases as the more users you've got, but also you do tend to find different types of packages at different price points. The next one is £500 to £1,000 a month. We have more than 1 package or more than 2 users. 1,000 to 2,000 a month. This is a lot of the packages are in this range. Things like Hubspot, some at Marketo. You can have a reasonable number of licenses of Salesforce for that sort of amount of money per month. And then more than 2,000 a month, we've several packages or multiple users, and you've basically invested quite heavily. So at the moment, most of you are spending less than £500 a month, which is 40% of you. And that's either because you've got low cost software or you've only got 1 or 2 users. But another 30% of you are only using free software. And then, so nearly half of you are not spending any money on this technology at the moment. And then about 40% of you are spending less than 500. So there's only a couple of people in the room that are actually spending more than £1,000. So, the interesting thing with what I'm trying to show you today is that quite often you can get a huge amount of functionality without having to spend a lot of money. So I think you're going to be quite pleasantly surprised when I explain some of the stuff that we can do for, sort of 500 quid a month. Okay, so what am I going to cover today? Well, as usual, I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction about myself. This is a bit about me. So I originally came to Leicester to go to Leicester University to do biology, and I've been in Leicester pretty much ever since. This is our office on the left, which I went and visited this week. My hubby does the maintenance, and the weeds were rather overgrown, but it's looking a bit more spick and span now. This is some of the team on the left-hand side. This is the Drummer Awards that we won last year, and this is sort of my personal life, which is a combination of my family, my grandkids. I'm a bit of a rocker at heart. I've got these two massive Maine Coons who sometimes come and join us in the webinar. They sometimes come and grovel for food halfway through. And I'm really looking forward to Lewis Hamilton smashing it at Silverstone this weekend. It's really frustrating because normally we would go, but at least we get a double whammy this weekend and next weekend. With regard to Anicca, we have about 40 clients. We have got a few people that are not operating at the moment because of the COVID situation, but we have actually pretty much got back to 40 with quite a few clients that have come on board in the last couple of weeks. About 60% of our clients are B2B. So I think the biggest ones there you'll probably recognize it's Experian and Palex and probably Domino Printing. But we also work with a couple of really big e-commerce clients such as Dykeman Shoes, AA Labels. You might not have heard of them, but they're actually quite a large company. And the other one that's really big and local is Charles Bentley, and we've been working with them for something like 8 years. So we tend to work with sort of quite demanding techie customers that got a lot of data integration, but we are working with more creative customers now, and a lot more paid social, which allows us to, and a lot more video stuff, which allows us to sort of mix the sort of art and science of what we do. Okay, so what are we going to cover today? I've got a packed agenda as usual. I don't think you'd expect anything less from me. And as usual, I'm going to be zooming through quite a few slides. There's quite a lot of screen grabs today, so hopefully you can put your screen on full screen and take advantage of seeing exactly what we've got to cover. So first of all, I'm going to do a little bit of a background on marketing automation software, and particularly a little bit about understanding marketing and sales funnels. It's really interesting when I work with salespeople that they just talk a completely different language to marketing people, and quite often, they almost consider each other as the enemy, even though they work for the same company. So I think it's important to understand some of the terminology and how the marketing funnel, particularly for B2B, has changed, and how we can use different technology at different stages. I'm then just going to explain what marketing automation software is, and then I'm going to show you some of the features and actually give you a little bit of a tour of the software that we use, which is SharpSpring. SharpSpring is often sold directly from agencies. I think you can go direct, but you actually get a much better deal if you come through an agency like ourselves, because we can charge you whatever we like. And later on, I'll actually explain in the final section why we chose it. But I will give you some alternatives that you might want to look at as well. Then I'm going to go through how we use marketing automation software, or MAS, because it's easier to say, for marketing. So I'm going to cover various different features and functionality within the package. And then I'm also going to do something similar for marketing automation for sales. I have sort of deceived you slightly in the sense that this isn't really a webinar on email and a webinar on CRM. It's actually a webinar on marketing automation, because that does both of those and loads of other things on top. So I'm going to cover some of the elements of CRM that marketing automation software does, but also some marketing automation software does integrate directly, well, most actually integrates directly into things like Salesforce and Zoho and Microsoft Dynamics. So maybe that'd be something we cover on another day. Finally, I'm going to look at some of the other functionality that I haven't covered today, because there are some things that I can't do in an hour, and also some of the ways that you can choose a supplier and what your criteria would be. Just to give you an indication, most of the 1-hour webinars that we're doing are a shortened version of a whole day. So I normally teach this presentation in a whole day, but we actually have a 5-day implementation onboarding process, which covers each of these in huge amounts of detail. And there'll be a reference to that at the end. Okay, so let's get going. So first of all, I wanted to explain the difference between a marketing and a sales funnel. And I've got a marketing funnel on the left and a sales funnel on the right. Sometimes this is actually a little bit simpler than this, but if you can imagine an e-commerce website, somebody becomes aware that they want to buy. I'll give you a good example. It's my granddaughter's 7th birthday this week, so I wanted to go and buy some Lego. I was thinking of clicking and collecting, so I went to Amazon and I went to Smith's because I wasn't sure whether I was going to go and click and collect. So I was already obviously aware of Amazon, but I was already aware of Smith's because they're next door to B&Q. So I sort of knew about them. So I went and had a look round and looked at some prices, and I considered the different brands. And I decided that, and I went and had a look on their website. So there was a sort of an acquisition process of me going and having a look round. Obviously, with us being in lockdown, I didn't actually go to the store, which I probably would have done under different circumstances. So some of this process can happen online and offline. But you go through that sort of education process, consideration process. And in the end, I did go online, but buy the product. So I went through to, I think it was PayPal or SagePay. I paid, and then I went back to a thank you page. And then now they've now got me as a customer because the product actually arrived this morning. Unfortunately, the first delivery was a bit of a disaster, so I actually had to go and ask for a second one. So they're not going to get me quite at the point of advocating them yet, but it might be that if I buy from them again, and they did respond really quickly with customer services when my first parcel didn't arrive. I might go and put them a review. So this is a reasonably straightforward process. It might have definitely involved a Google search. I might have even I think I'm being remarketed to pretty constantly on Facebook at the moment, and I'm seeing Smith adverts everywhere, of course, because they will try and recapture me and make sure I'm aware of them. But that process can be incredibly straightforward, or can be a little bit more wibbly wobbly depending on what platforms and channels you go to, whether you use multiple devices, and how long you spend on it. Now, let's look at a B2B lead generation process, and let's put this in a more of a sales context, and you can see the level of complexity massively increases. And in fact, some of this stuff is still the same at the top. So first of all, you've got awareness, and you've got this sort of, they call it friend, which is a little bit informal, but basically somebody's sort of aware of you, and they may be even coming to your website. And they may be coming to your website, and at that point, they might even be looking at content on your site, but they would be what we would call an anonymous user. And I'll go through this in a little bit more. Now, at some point, they're going to find something that they really like, and they may well leave their contact details. It might be for a white paper, or to attend an event or a webinar or something like that. And then as they become more interested in what you're doing, they become more engaged. And then what happens is you start to regard them as a marketing qualified lead, okay? Not a sales lead yet, but they're effectively become a target once they've interacted with your site. And what we can do if we use certain types of software is we can start scoring that interaction. So whereas at the top of the funnel, or TOFU, we don't really know who they are. So in the middle of the funnel, we know who they are, we know who the contact is. It might be because we've actually proactively emailed them or sent them, or they've responded to sort of social posts or clicked on social posts, or they've come to some content on your site, either some gated content, or they've filled in a form, and then they effectively are a known contact, and potentially they could be a lead. Now, they tend to be called a lead once they have actually filled in a request for a project. So this could come in through the phone. So again, it doesn't necessarily happen online, or it could be a form. And what will happen then is that they'll become a sales qualified lead once the lead team have actually made sure that they've got a budget and that there's a match. At that point, they normally go into the CRM system, and this could happen within the CRM system earlier on, or it could happen from a marketing automation and transferred over to a CRM system. But then then basically what you then regard them is that you've got a project opportunity. So we tend to start to talk about opportunities. And then if that opportunity then becomes a project, it normally involves a salesperson who's got to convince them, probably has got to produce a proposal. There may be meetings, there may be sales calls or virtual calls at the moment. But eventually what will happen is that will either become a won project or a lost project, and then they become a customer. So although I don't particularly like the complexity of this, it does explain all the different stages, and it does allow you to differentiate between some of the activities that are done by marketing and some of the activities that are done by sales further down the funnel. But they do overlap. And what tends to happen now is, if you look at this piece of research, in the past, what happened is that the buyer would go and do a little bit of research. They might meet you at a trade show, they might go onto your website, and they'll actually start to interact with the actual sales team really, really early on. Nowadays, what's happening, I mean, this is nearly 10 years old, this study in its own right. The user will be able to self-help to all the information they need. And so they're going to expect to be able to get all the details of your service, download information, pricing lists, specifications, whatever it is you sell. And they expect to get drip feeded information and emails for some considerable time until they're nearly sort of 70% through the buying process, and they've probably narrowed it down to maybe one or two vendors before suppliers before they even talk to that supplier. So effectively what happens is marketing takes a bigger chunk of the process and sales get involved much later on. However, they will probably be dealing with a warmer lead that marketing has been nurturing maybe over a couple of months. And these webinars are a good example, actually, because we've been doing these webinars now for, this will be our 5th month. So we started in April, and I think we're on about our 20th webinar. And we've been doing webinars with other partners as well. And what we're starting to see is people that we knew and we used to send emails to are attending every week. And because they've now got needs for specific marketing activities, they're actually starting to talk to us now. But if it wasn't for the webinars, they wouldn't really understand exactly what we do, because this is a really good way of explaining the sort of technology and the type of services that we offer. Okay, so I put that into a rather complicated image. As I said, the trouble with doing the webinars is you can't build your slides. But I've taken the same tofu, mofu, and bofu, which actually I nicked from Marketo. I think I gave them credit earlier on. And then I've put the role of marketing, the role of sales, and the software and techniques, which is really a way of introducing what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the morning. So first of all, marketing at the top of the funnel is all about visibility, awareness, and traffic. That's basically getting people to your website. And then the second stage is establishing credibility and nurturing. So this is really where content marketing comes in, and remarketing, email marketing comes in, because what you're doing is you're drip feeding and reassuring the potential, the prospect that you are a company that they should be working with. And then later on, once they actually become a customer, it's all about education, advocacy, and reassuring them that that was a good decision, and providing that sort of customer services that you know that marketing can contribute to even after they become a customer. Now, sales obviously get involved a bit later on, and initially what they'll be doing is qualifying prospects and establishing needs. Once they've narrowed that down and there's actually an opportunity, they're going to be convincing and converting that customer into that prospect into a customer. And then once they are a customer, then it may be them, but it might be other people. Then their responsibility is all about upselling, cross-selling, but also retention, of course. So I haven't really talked about retention in this model, but marketing does get sometimes involved in that as well, because we can remind people that that we're capable and doing a great job for them, and that they shouldn't really be considering defecting to somebody else. Now, when you look at software and techniques, most of the advertising and marketing channels happen top of the funnel up here. And so really this is talking to people that you don't necessarily know. So you're going to have all your SEO, your paid search, your paid social up here, display advertising. but you only really start to email them once you've got their name and their contact details. So content marketing in the form of things like blogging is important here as well, because you've got to have something to send to them. But also you can use remarketing strategies, which are part of the advertising at the top. So email is a really important part, and actually most traditional marketeers regard email as just part of their role. I guess in sort of 20 years ago or so, when I first got into marketing, email marketing in a way took over some of direct mail. However, I think direct mail has got as important job nowadays, because people get inundated with email, and actually a nice piece of direct mail through the post can really have a positive impact. Of course, once we've got customers, we continue to communicate to them as marketeers. So these become customer emails. And quite often what we find is that when you send an email out, you might send it to both, so that they're both informed about what you're doing. Now, customer relationship management software, like something like Salesforce or Zoho, can be used all the way through this process. It really depends what the CRM system is being used for. In most cases, CRM systems are really being used for sales management, but they generally have email functionality. So what tends to happen is that once you get contact, they'll go into a CRM system, and then you can use that for emailing. But because there's so many free email systems out there, quite a lot of time people will continue to use that, and they may even have a completely separate CRM system, and they might not even communicate with each other. So one of the advantages of something like marketing automation is that it covers the whole of that journey. Excuse me, I'm just going to take a sip of water. So what we see with marketing automation systems is that they can actually cover the whole of this journey, and they actually they can start tracking individuals before we even know who they are. So once somebody arrives on your website, they effectively automatically create a record in the system, and then once you know who they are, so once you go from the top of the funnel to the middle of the funnel, all that information is linked together. Also, marketing automation systems tend to have email marketing included, but also social media, webinars, and quite a lot of other functionality. So what we see with marketing automation is that it sort of spans the whole of this bottom area. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk to you about is sort of understanding what visitors' motivations are when they arrive on your site. So I don't know whether any of you guys have seen these sort of matrices before. So this one was something that I called the consideration matrix, really. So first of all, you've got people that don't know you at all, and then people that already know and trust you. So hopefully your customers will be in that category, but you'll have people arriving on your site that they've never been to your site before. They may have seen an advert, or they may have seen you in a blog in SEO. And then they'll divide into whether they want to buy, and that could be somebody looking for a job, or a student just doing some research, or even another agency checking you out, or a competitor checking you out. And then you've got people that either want to buy now or sometimes in the future. So if you look at these four categories of people, and obviously they're not in proportion, this proportion is going to be actually the smallest probably, is that these are the people that you're not really interested in. They don't know you, they don't trust you, and they're never going to want to buy anyway. So they're really the people that you're not that interested in. Whereas the people that already trust you and know you, and they want to buy now or in the future, these are your actual stars. These are the people that you want to actually have come into your website, and you want to try and convert them. Now, you will get people down here that want to buy you but aren't familiar with you. So your role there is to move them up. And then there will be other people that are not ready to buy yet, but actually they're doing their research. They're quite early on in the process. And what you're really trying to do with them is take them from this corner down to there, and then gradually move up. Somebody just said that they've got an unexpected session that they've got to. So the session is recorded, and we will be sending out the videos later. So I'm sorry that somebody has to disappear. Now, if you look at this in practical terms, what we have to do is we don't really want to spend too much time in this quarter. so you don't really want to have any action. So you just have lots of useful information. They're not likely to buy, but they could recommend you. So don't annoy them. Don't upset them. You've got this group over here. They're not, they already know you, but they don't want to buy yet, but they may want to buy in the future. So you always need to provide useful information, and you can always convince them to buy later on. This is probably one of the most important corners, because this is the nurturing. They're not ready to buy yet, but if you can provide useful information to them and then get them ready to buy and reassure them with lots of trust signals like reviews and testimonials, lots of useful content, then eventually you'll be able to put them up into this corner where you want to make the buying process as easy as possible and you don't want to put them off. So if you think about the people arriving on your website, they're not always the same. And the ones that we're really interested in are this lot over here, which is the ones that are going from nurturing to conversions. So this is really what we're talking about when we're talking about marketing automation and the whole sort of sales funnel process. So I just wanted to go through the naming conventions, because if you've never used a CRM system before, this can be quite annoying and quite confusing. So first of all, you need to understand over on the left-hand side, we've got anonymous users. So these are people that arrive on your site, and the only way we know who they are is because they've got a fixed IP address at their office, and we can actually see who they work for. Now, obviously, this is not going to work if everybody is coming in on Sky or BT, because everybody's working at home. So this is going to skew your data at the moment, but once we get back to the office environment, people that are searching and go onto websites, we will know who they are through something called reverse DNS, or domain name server. And you've got packages like Lead Forensics that do similar things. Once they've revealed themselves to you, and these are the techniques on the right that they do that, they become a known contact. And the most common way of doing that is that they either receive an email from you and then they click on it, or they complete a form. But it does include things like if you send social media posts out through the packages and they click on that, that will also make them known to you as well. Once they are known contacts, then they have the potential of becoming a lead, and they become a lead really if they express an interest in your service. However, that is only then an opportunity if it's qualified by the salespeople, because they could fill in a form and say they want to use your services, but they've got a budget of 250 quid, and you sell equipment for 2,500, so they're not really going to be a suitable customer. So they only become a new opportunity once you've actually qualified them and you start the process of meeting them and sending proposals and things. Now, what happens with opportunities is they go through various steps of the opportunity pipeline, which I'll talk to you about later on. And that's things like having a meeting, having a proposal, etc. So once they go through each of these different stages, they eventually either become a one opportunity, which is a live project, or they're a lost opportunity. So we really sort of need to know what happens at each of these different stages, and we want to try and nurture them at these different stages. So this is the naming convention that we use in CRM systems, but also marketing automation systems. Okay, so let's just define what marketing automation software is then. So it's a software platform used for the automation and integration of marketing and sales tasks. So effectively, it's not just marketing. It can be just marketing. A few of them are, but most of them will have a CRM functionality, and they almost always actually integrate with the major platforms like Salesforce and Microsoft Dynamics. So some of them have CRM, some of them don't, and some of them have the facility of doing both. They're mainly used for lead generation and nurturing by B2B companies, but you could also use it for things like selling cars or selling very expensive holidays. But it's usually when there's a long buying cycle. And we often call it account-based management, because quite often there'll be more than one person involved in the buying cycle. So you might have a number of people at the company who'll be interacting with you and actually involved in the decision-making process. But saying that, we do have functionality even within the SharpSpring functionality for tracking e-commerce sales as well. So if you do have a parts business and you sell equipment, and the equipment is done through tender and a consultancy sale, that's fine. And then if you've got actual e-commerce sales, we can actually track them as well. So, and that's using tracking code similar to what you use in analytics. Okay, so most people will use marketing automation in 3 stages. And what tends to happen is, depending on who sets it up, it will happen in different ways. So first of all, if marketeers are using it, they'll use it for what we call lead generation or demand generation. And that will be about automating the marketing processes, things like email marketing, looking at lists, etc. If the salespeople use it, then that's going to be more about tracking the opportunities, trying to automate things like callbacks and tasks. And then if the service team are the main holders of the software, then they're going to use it for talking to existing clients and maybe cross-selling or managing that relationship. So you can see you get different people involved, and the whole advantage of using this software is that you use exactly the same database, and all the information is tracked at an individual level as they go through different stages of the buying cycle. This is a more complicated diagram, which I don't really want to go through in too much detail, but I just wanted to sort of show you. And it illustrates the fact that you've got the anonymous, the cold, the warm, and the hot leads, and then they become customers. And some of the sort of marketing techniques that you might use. So you've got things like the creative assets around forms and landing page and emails. You've got your lead techniques such as Google Ads, direct mail, trade shows, any paid social advertising. You've got your analytics, you've got management of data. So this is to sort of try and explain how all these other channels fit around this process. But I think it's really much more helpful to actually understand the packages and functionality within the software, which is what I'm going to cover next. Okay, so this diagram shows the main elements of nearly every single piece of marketing and software that's out there. And in the middle of it sits the CRM, the customer relationship management, and the lists. So this is really all your contacts and any lists that you create from those. And a lot of those lists can be created dynamically. So, for example, based on what pages they go to your website or what they do on your website, if they fill in forms, etc. So normally that means we've got to create forms on the website, which we do here, and we have to track them as individuals as they arrive on the site as an anonymous user, and then as they get their contact. And then from then on, every single time that they come onto your site, because there's cookies loaded onto each device, we can see them at each of the different stages. Then what happens is we use email and lead generation techniques, which could also include social media posts, but nearly a lot of people are using this for email. Most people use this for email. Is that you can then broadcast and actually encourage people back to the site to read the content on your site. Now, every time they come back to the site, then what actually happens is that you're nurturing that lead, and we then get to the point, then they will generate an opportunity, and then we'll track them through the sales process and the different places in the pipelines, different stages in the pipeline. It wouldn't be called marketing automation without some automation. And this is the concept of providing, it's a bit like when you go to a website and you open a form or you download something, you immediately in your email get a message from somebody saying, oh, thank you for downloading it. Would you like to set up a call? It could be that you've received an email and you've opened it and you get a follow-up email. You could have bought something and then a week later they're asking you for a review. So these tend to be triggered automations and workflows, and they tend to be based on a trigger or something happening, and then that's followed by some form of action. And that could be an internal activity. So, for example, somebody fills in a form, the marketing team will get an email, or somebody buys a product and then a week later the customer's asked for a review. So the automation can be both internal and external. Finally, most of these packages have got integration with lots of other external packages, third-party packages. So it covers things like Google Ads, all the meeting software, all these other CRM systems, all the major CRM systems. And generally, most of them have got some form of integration with Zapier, which allows you to effectively link pretty much any two pieces of software together, or the database of any software together, or they may have an API, open API access as well. So this allows you to sort of link it with other pieces of software. So it could be a project management software, accounts, etc. Okay, so before I go in and explain the actual process of each of the functionalities, what I wanted to do next was just quickly explain what's required to set up the marketing automation software. Now, this can take, as I said, between 3 to 5 days to do this and all the other parts of the software. If you've already done email before, and you've already done CRM systems before, it's going to be much easier because your data will be in a better state. But the first thing you need to do is get the account, customize all the settings, and probably the most important thing is to stick the tag on your website, the tracking code on your website, so that we're actually tracking individuals as they arrive. You're going to set up all your users and staff profiles, and you're going to connect it to all the other pieces of software that you want to. You're then going to customize all your settings. You're going to upload all your logos and brandings, create the opportunity stages, which is basically the different sales stages in the sales process, set up campaigns, that's basically where they hear about you, and link any social profiles, because you're going to start listening to what people are saying about you, or we can start posting out through the platform. Then we're going to have to do quite a lot of work. This is quite a time-consuming part, to be honest, and that's all around creating custom fields and creating forms for your website. Because if you're going to collect data, you need somewhere to put it, and you're also going to want to import all your lists from various different members of your team. So, as I said, this can be anything from a 2 to 5 day process. But the main issue is really what the status of your data is in the first place, because if it's in the right mesh, you need to sort it out before you upload it. So the SharpSpring dashboard, and like many of the others, is split into 2 parts. So in this case, you've got a marketing menu and then next a sales menu. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but it's basically divided into various sections. So this is all about contacts, importing and lists and the actual contact manager. This is all about content. So this is things like the emails, the landing page, the forms you create. You can even create blogs within here. There's a content calendar that you can manage. You've got your social, which is listening and posting. You've got your automation, which is your workflows, creating personas, etc. And then you've got the analytics. So the analytics is all around things like the sources of traffic, the campaigns you're running, any emails, who's opening forms or creating forms. Now, when you flick across the sales side, you'll see there's some repetition. So the contact side of it is repeated. Accounts is the companies. You've then got all your opportunities and your pipelines. And then you've got a whole load of reports. Now, reports can vary considerably from one platform to another. Most of them have the ability to actually export, which sometimes you have to do depending on the sophistication of the report writing package within here. And then finally, you have got meeting management, and this is particularly become quite prominent within these packages because of the people working from home during the lockdown. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through some of the main things that we do in marketing, and I'm going to explain why marketing automation is a good alternative way of doing it, and also what it looks like when you use the platform. So the first thing is creation of forms and landing pages on your website. So the problem is the ability to just create and add new forms onto a website, creating landing pages for specific promotions, and also doing A/B testing. So most people, what they'll do is they'll use their CMS system within their website to be able to do that. Sometimes I'll just get their developers to do it for them. If you've got WordPress, there's some really good form creators. We use Form 7, which allows you to do things like redirect to a thank you page. Or people will use landing page and creation and testing tools such as Unbound, Visual Optimizer, Optimizely. Google's got their optimizers back again after a little bit of a retirement. It's come back. So some of these are free, some of these are paid tools, but effectively you create a landing page and actually you don't have to have any coding experience. Now, the marketing automation solution will have the ability to create individual fields, so you can create whatever custom fields you like, because, of course, if you create a field, you need somewhere to store the data. It's also got a form creator where you can have the standard fields from the package, and then also, this is basically the core ones, and then any custom ones you've had. Then you can add the form to the website via an iframe. You can also do something called code posting, which means that you create a normal native form and then post it. Anybody technically in the audience wants to ask us about that, I can talk to them about it separately. And you can also create landing pages or integrate with third-party software. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about gated content. So if you go onto the Anicca website, which I'm sure most of you have already, you would have been, immediately you would see this free access to our training at the bottom. And after you've been on there about 90 seconds, you'll get a pop-up inviting you to download the A10 strategy ebook. And so this is the call to action, and then you go to a landing page and it's gated content, so you have to fill in your name to get it. We also do advertising to this. We spend about £10 a day in Facebook, and it costs us about £2.50, I guess, per download. But this has built over the last 18 months over 1,500 people that have given us permission to market to them. There's probably another 300 or 400 people that have opted out of contacts, further contacts. But that's a really, really cost-effective way of building up a marketing list. And some of these people have then come onto the webinars and then become customers. So this is what we mean by gated content. And the tool that I use, it's an opt-in monster. So if anybody's interested, it's very reasonable price. Okay, so the advantage and disadvantage of gated content is open content has a lot of SEO benefits, but if somebody comes and looks at that content, you really don't know much about them unless they've already been to your website and they're known to you, in which case within the marketing automation software, you can actually see what they've already done. But gated content, which is where you've got a form, is only really suitable for premium content. And users will only complete that if they value it and they give their details. So what we tend to find is that most marketers try and produce lead magnets, which is what the A10 is. So it's really useful stuff, and it's high value content. It's designed to attract users and get them to leave their contact details. So that's what it's all about. And it's really relevant. So hopefully these people that may be interested in using your products or service. So this tends to be things like white papers, guides, etc. Now, the process of creating a form on the site, so I'm starting to show you some screenshots. I don't expect you to be able to see the details until you get the PDF at home. But basically, you've got a form creator, and that allows you to pick all the different fields that you want. And you've got the field selector. And obviously, if you need a new field, you can create a new field while you're doing this. But you've got the standard fields, and then you've got all the custom fields that you've created. And this might be things like budget, the size of the company, whatever, what sector they're in, what current services they're using, whatever you like. And then once you put those two together and loaded it up onto your website, this is the resulting form, and you can style it so it looks exactly what's on your website as well. So it's a basic form which needs a little bit. I would recommend for this that you've got somebody with a bit of HTML skills in order to make it look as good as it could. Okay, so once you've got people filling in your form, you'll then get data and you'll be able to see who they are. So you can go in every day and see who's actually filled in your form, but also you get an automatic response because we would have set up a workflow to do that. So there'll be an email in your inbox as well. So the other thing we want to know is how to track anonymous visitors, and then we want to find out what happens once they've actually filled in the form, or if we create contacts. And of course, we can create our own contacts or upload our own contacts, and they may not have been onto the website before. So one of the great things to do is to actually, if you upload a contact list, is to send them a great offer, and then they need to go back to the website to actually redeem the offer or click on the email, and then you'll know who they are because you would have cookied them. Okay, so this is all about understanding behavior on the website, who's been on your website and who's contacted you, and the history of the individual visits. So Google is really anonymous. It's got loads and loads and loads of data, but it's all about trends and averages. You can use reverse DNS lookup, which is things like lead forensics, as I have a load of these ones here. But they are quite expensive, and in fact, sometimes you'll find something like lead forensics will be as expensive as buying the whole of this software suite. So the fact that this software includes this in it is a real added advantage. So although people will use DNS software, once you've actually got them identified, then you've got a central database of all the information. And the great thing about this is that the history of an individual user is tracked right from the first time that they came to the site, literally on every single individual. So it basically joins up the anonymous details with the known details once they become known to you. So you can see a complete history of each individual, and you can see that over time. And if you link your emails, you can see all that correspondence as well. So within the package, you go to Visitor ID. It will give you literally the last sort of 20 or so people, and you can keep on scrolling down. It takes a few minutes to come through, so it's not quite live. It's probably 5 or 10 minutes out of date. And if they've already been to your site before, they'll be green and you'll know who they are. But if you recognize the company, you can click on them and you can actually see the information, and you can see what they actually did and how many times they visited. And then once they actually have made themselves known to you, then they will become green as a known contact. Now, occasionally what happens will be there will be a bigger company, and you might even be able to click through and get a bit more information. But to be perfectly honest, a lot of the time this is things like Sky or Hubspot or something, or Google, and you can't always, you don't know, there's nobody to actually associate with that record. This is the contact manager. So I've gone into contacts. This is a list of all the most recent contacts that's on the side as well. So if I go into my record, obviously I've got some hidden data here, but this is my information. There's a number of tabs. So you've got the standard information. I've got a bit of a track history of notes and activities and tasks. I've got some custom fields here. So this could be where I put all my company details, personal details about person. I've got the life of the lead, and I've got membership into groups, which I will show you in a second. So if you look at the life of the lead, every single interaction with that person is recorded. It could be a web visit, it could be filling in a form, it could be an email, it could be an email blast. And actually, if you click on these, you can actually see the full history, and you can actually read the email as well. So in this particular one, I'm looking at the visits, and I can see exactly what pages they've been to. So that means that if you've got a salesperson, could go right back and see all the interactions they've had with the site and actually what page they visited on. And you can even create groups based on these pages. So if a load of people click on, say, in our case, our SEO pages, we can create a list of people that have expressed interest in SEO. Now, this one is just showing the membership. So this is things like any lists they belong to, any opportunities, any emails they've been sent. But it also has got tracked devices, which I thought I'd show you as well. So, of course, once somebody opens an email in both a mobile, which is down here, I've got an Android phone, and the laptop, then all of the devices are tracked. So you're not treated as two separate people or two separate users, because all that information is linked together. So the CRM and list management side of things. So obviously, a lot of people will start off by using Excel. There's big problems with multiple lists in multiple departments. There's no central correct list. Contacts are out of date. There's no segmented list, and the quality of the data can be absolutely appalling. So the amount of times I sort of see, Leicester in the county code, or Leicestershire in the city code, or postcode in, it's just all over the place. Ann Stanley in the name instead of first name, last name. So obviously it's about collecting information correctly in the first place, but it's also cleaning your lists. So of course, CRM systems are designed to do this. So here are some of the most common ones. So these are the Zoho and Sugar CRM, the sort of the cheaper end of the market. Although to be perfectly honest, Zoho's got so many different packages now. And actually, once you start using it with multiple users, it's as competitive as something like Salesforce. And then you've got Microsoft Dynamics plus loads and loads more. But what happens with marketing automation is that generally some marketing automation systems will have some CRM functionality within them. All of them will integrate with third-party systems like Salesforce, but you just need to decide whether that's important to you. So if you're already using Salesforce, then actually, you don't need to buy a marketing automation system that has CRM as well, because you're going to use Salesforce. Interestingly, Salesforce does own about 3 different marketing automation systems, including Pardo or Pardot, but they don't seem to have quite, I think they bought companies up, but they don't seem to have got it all within one big package. There's definitely different elements. It's almost like a suite of software. You can upload your existing list into the marketing automation. You can create dynamic lists or lists based on behavior. So I'll just show you a few examples of that. So this is importing a CSV. So you go into the contact section, you go over to the action menu over here, you import, and then you basically load up a CSV. In this case, it's common delimiter. I'm not going to be able to say that now. Then you have to map the fields. So obviously the fields that you've got in your Excel spreadsheet or CSV file need to be mapped with the ones that are actually in the system. So you map them individually. And if you've used MailChimp before, this will be very, very familiar to you. And then once you've actually uploaded a list, you can then create further lists from that. So in this case, this is a dynamic list. This list is created from the A10 sign-up list, which I showed you earlier. So you can see, I took a snapshot of this yesterday. So we've got, people coming in. That was a pretty bad day for us. We typically get between 5 and 10 sign-ups a day. And I've hidden the details of the individuals. Okay, email broadcasting then. I'm not going to go into this in too much detail because it's almost a direct copy of MailChimp. But the main issue with using something like MailChimp and some of these sort of freemium models is that you can't always have sophisticated templates. They often provide the templates for you. And there's often problems when you upload your own list, particularly if you've got a lot of info or sales addresses. And what happens is, although the reporting is very good for each email, there's no tracking of the customer history. There's not like a database where you can see the history. Now, I do know that MailChimp have started to implement some marketing automation functionality within their software. But I don't think that's necessarily in the free version. So what happens is that most people start off with one of the free versions, such as MailChimp or Constant Contact or something like that. And then once they hit a certain limit, they will either pay or they'll upgrade to paid software such as Adrestra and Pure360, Mailer, all of those. Now, these overcome some of the issues around uploading your own list, and but they may or may not have any CRM functionality to actually track the history. So what happens with marketing automation is that they've got an integrated system within the CRM system as well. So you can upload your own list, you can create all your own templates, or upload your own template. But the reports can be done per list, per email job, and also you can also see at an individual whether they've responded as well. So you just get a much more 360 view of what's going on. So this is the sort of management of the directory of all the different files and folders. You've got a templates folder that's similar. And I've done a quick search on July, and I picked up the one that we sent out on the 1st of July. I can then go in and clone it or edit it. And this is the editing functionality. So I'm highlighting the text here, and you've got a WYSIWYG editor. So if any of you are familiar with, Word or WordPress or anything like that, or MailChimp, this will be really, really familiar to you. You've then got the ability to obviously save the settings, send preview emails and test emails, and then you've got a choice of broadcasting it to a list, or you can put it in the contacts and broadcast it to an individual. So in this case, what I've done, I've gone into the actual email broadcasting section, and I'm going to upload, and I'm going to send it to a load of lists so I can see my lists here, and then I'm going to send them one list at a time. You can also tag emails so that you can send it in a bulk, but as we want to sort of know which lists are responding, we do it at an individual basis. You can also schedule it, so you can do it immediately or schedule it for later. I can also send it to an individual, so I can find a contact and send it to an individual as well. Once you've got your, you've done your email, you can look at the individual list that you've sent it to, or this is each job. So this is a day. So this was this week's when we sent out an email to probably 10 or 15 different lists, and then that's the individual lists. And you can click in and get the report, and you get quite a lot of nice information about opening rates, delivery rates, and you can actually go in and see actually who's opened it and who's clicked on what. Okay, social media and content then. So this is the problem of posting and listening and doing that all through one platform, and also monitoring competitor activity. So most people will use Hootsuite, SweetDeck, or Octopus or something similar. Now, marketing automation systems have got some functionality. You can listen to mainly your own, but you can also broadcast through it as well. So I'm just going to show you what we've got in our system. So first of all, we've got our social listening functionality. So here we've linked up our Twitter accounts. We can also link up Facebook and LinkedIn. It's just not on this particular screen. You can have it in different tabs as well. So you can see here, Leicester Digital here, Anicca Digital there. I can also create a content calendar. So this can be where these are all our emails we send out each week. But I can, we're not actually currently using this for social media posts because the person that's responsible for this is just coming off of furlough now. So that will start to be used going forward. But if I did want to create a social post, I can choose the platform that I'm linked to, and then I can create a post, and I've got the ability to create an image and a link or video there. It's not quite as sophisticated as going directly through the platform or maybe using something like Hootsuite, but the main advantage is that if they do interact with any of these posts, it will show on their history. Okay, workflows and automation then. I'm going to keep this really simple. So this is the ability to do drip campaigns, cross-sell, and actually sort of send date-triggered emails. Some email broadcasting systems do have this, or you've got to use things like specialist shopping cart abandonment. But marketing automation systems, that's where they get their name from. They were set up to basically create workflows, and you can use these either as an internal or external. So I've put a copy of one here. You can see how simple it is. This is your trigger. So if they open a specific form or complete a specific form, or go to a specific page on your website, you then send an action. So in this case, if they fill in the website form, the inquiries email, which goes to the senior member of the team, immediately get an email. So that's being used for an internal flow. Just to give you an idea of the sorts of things you can use it for. So internally, it's sort of to know whether people go to specific pages or read specific subjects. If a lead score gets to a certain level, or if they fill in a certain form. For external, it's to do with things like, reviews, social sharing, if they didn't complete the shopping cart, blogging content, drip feeding that in over a period of time, reminder purchases, birthdays, and other time-triggered events. Okay, so that's most of the marketing functionality. I am very conscious that we're getting near to the end, so I've only got a few more slides left. So if you think about the sales team, what they're really interested in is the lead scoring. So obviously you'd set this up earlier on, but you can see that the most people that come onto our database, it's over 4,000 there, are cool leads. They're not really warm leads. Some of these really high scores will be staff, because of course we've been using the platform for a number of years, But in that area down there will be your warm leads, which are going to be the ones that have either have a good fit, so they provide lots of information, or have engaged with certain content, filled in form, downloaded videos. So you can set the scores for all of these. The next thing you want to do is, if you get an inquiry or over the phone, or somebody actually completes a form saying they're interested in the contract, is we want to be able to track the leads and sales. So effectively, if you've not used CRM system before, you've probably done this on Excel, but CRM does allow you to do something like the same. And marketing automation systems, depending on whether they have this internally or they integrate, will have most of the functionality of a CRM software. So this is an example here. So I'm back on my record. At the top right is my action cog, and I've gone down and I want to create a new opportunity. So I click on new opportunity, and then basically once I've created an opportunity, which includes things like the price, what the project's around, the dates, etc., I end up with a pipeline, and this is the board. You can have it in a list, and these are all the different pipelines. I'm sorry, guys, I've had to hide the contact details and everything, but each one of these will be a different project or a different opportunity at each of the different stages. So this could be an initial inquiry, you've had a call, you've requested some cost, you've sent some cost, and then the contract's actually sent, and then eventually it'll be signed or won. So this is the different stages. So if any of you are familiar with CRMs, this is a really simple system, but it does exactly what it says on the tin. And these are the live projects, and then you can see the value of the projects, and you know, and the timescales and all the individual details. And there's some quite good reports within here as well. Okay, so just a couple slides to finish off then. So there is some functionality that I didn't cover, including things like allocation of tasks, integration with Google Ads, landing page testing, events and webinars, integration with things like CRM system, shopping cart integration, and also Perfect Audience, which is owned by SharpSpring, and they do remarketing display ads. So again, that's another piece of functionality that we can that we can use with you. Choosing supplier. So this is using data from Built With. This is the most popular in the UK. Hubspot, of course, is the most popular. You've got famous names like Omniture and Adobe, and then you've got less common ones like Aweber that have been around for years, that actually were one of the original email system. And then there's a few in there that I've never heard of, to be honest. I've never heard of Privy, for example. So what I do is I tend to go and look at resources like, this is G2, but Gartner, lots of different places where you can find, and this is a matrix where they review all the different, and you can see there's literally hundreds of marketing automation software. And SharpSpring, which is the one we use, is up in this top right quadrant. And the reason we chose it, well, first of all, the sorts of reasons you might decide on a system is you've got to understand your business objective. You need to look at third-party reviews. You need to put a spreadsheet together with a load of feature lists. You need to decide what your deal-breaking criteria are, because they all probably have the features that you want, but what is it they haven't got? That's the real crux of it. So, you know, do you need integration with existing CRM? What's the price? Are they scalable? And, you know, what do you think of the demos? Our selection criteria were all about what they actually didn't do and the price. So we needed the unlimited users per account. We wanted more than 5,000 contacts, more than 5,000 emails. We didn't want to use HubSpot at the time. You know, you had to use their blogging platform. And we basically wanted an integrated CRM contact management system, because we didn't want to have to pay for that separately. And a lot of our clients, you know, most of our clients have got Salesforce and HubSpot, but a lot of them that haven't didn't want to pay twice. So this is the cost of SharpSpring. There's a bit of a plug for us. We actually, if you went direct, you'd be paying about $1,000 for 20,000 contacts. Our package is $500 a month, and you get 100,000 contacts or leads, 25,000 emails a month, and 250 page impressions a month. So it's a really cost-effective way of getting a lot of functionality. Most of the packages that have got similar functionality are in the 1,000 to 50 to 2,000 bracket. So you're probably talking about things like HubSpot and Marketo. What's actually involved with implementation is pretty much what I've covered today in a lot more detail. we have sort of a day on each of these. And if anybody's interested, please do come and talk to us. I am aware that it's gone 10 o'clock, so I'm just going to quickly bring up, let me find out where it's gone. Jess, could you bring the offers up, please? Because my software's just gone a bit funny. Yeah, so I'm struggling today to actually get access to the calls for action, the offers, unless Jess is available to do it for me. So I think it's because I've ended up on full screen. Thank you, Jess. So this is our digital marketing course, which starts in October. This is 12 days of being actually either in the office or you can live stream it. We are also offering the ability to watch recording afterwards. So if you want to go across and see that one, and then if you could offer free access to the training material as well, please, Jess. Thank you for that. Yeah, and this is, if any of you haven't already signed up for the Academy, academy.anicca, you're very welcome to go and get free access there. And then finally, just a plug for next Friday. It's Ed next week. I've got a couple of weeks off, which is great. And Ed's going to be covering conversion research. This is things like Hotjar, understanding analytics in more details, doing surveys. And it's basically getting started with your conversion research so that you can make decisions and improve your website so that you can make some more money. Excellent. Well, that's everything for today. So thank you very much, everybody. That's the end of the webinar. I can't see the chat anymore, Jess. So is there any questions? If you could, it's come back now. So do we have any questions? So is it possible to show the life of the lead in Salesforce, not within SharpSpring? I'm not sure, actually. I don't think you can. I think you can see the interaction with them once you know who they are, but I don't think you can prior to that. So not the anonymous side of things. I think that's the rest of the questions. Well, if there isn't anything else that you guys want to ask, thank you so much. I will send out the video later on today. I hope you have a lovely weekend and enjoy the sunshine. And I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye-bye.